how do we want to use that analytical data in the real world, right? The idea, of course, is at a high level, I can understand how Heiberger is going to rule, right? At a high level, but it's not case specific. It's certainly not fact specific. So, what I want to do and what Trellis will provide you is I can use analytics to set the tone, but really, how do I want to structure my argument? What has the judge ruled on in the past? Can I see those orders? Can I adopt those motions? This is an old look at Trellis. We've got to update some of these slides here. I'll still show it to you guys in real time. But so, for example, we can do dispositive searches looking for his orders. I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. I call it the raw judge data. And so, what I mean by that is when you have an assigned judge, you might as well take a look at the analytics, assuming we have enough case data on the judge, but then do a really simple search like this. So I get an idea of the sample set, the data set that makes up those analytics. So for Heiberger, I'm looking at over 9,000 cases and almost 56,000 documents that are attached to those cases. Okay. It's a really big sample size. In fact, we don't even create judge dashboards for the most part until we have over 1,000 cases with the judge, only because it messes with the numbers to a certain extent. But what I want to do from this screen is start cherry picking things that are important to me. And I'm going to tie this into alerts later on. But for example, if I have a torts case, we already know, right? Judge Heiberger, his caseload is about what, it was almost 40% were torts cases. We can apply a real quick filter on torts, right, to get an idea, say, okay, let's limit the sample size to only those cases that matter to me. And at this stage now, I can either cherry pick parties, you know, how has he handled Home Depot torts cases, right? How has he handled X parties? Those types of questions we can put in here real quickly and isolate them to say, I only care about those cases where, I don't know, Chase, the bank was the moving party. So we can put him in here as plaintiff to see if he's had any cases against them. We can do the same thing for counsel, right? My first stop as a practitioner is I just filter by all. Now I had wrongful death cases. So what I would be curious about is let me see all these wrongful death cases that Judge Heiberger had, right? There's 632 of them. That doesn't necessarily help me out at the top level. I'd want to filter these ones by newest to oldest right away because now I'm getting an idea, and I'm going to look at this case here just to demonstrate it. I'm getting an idea of, right, how recent or how often is he getting wrongful death cases? When was the last one filed? Can I go ahead and scroll through and find older cases? In a hypothetical situation, to tie this to our alerts later on, let's pretend that this was my case, right? I filed this case back in December, landed on Heiberger's docket. What is going to make the most sense for me to do? And while I want to track my own case, of course, I actually want to find a case that's like a year older than mine, right? So if we just start cherry picking, oh, this one was removed, but if we try to pick, for example, this one, right? What I want to see because it's still active is I want to click into this and track this case. I want to see how the plaintiff presented their case. How did Judge Heiberger handle discovery disputes? Were there any motions to dismiss? Were there demur motions filed early on? Has this case reached summary judgment? Because if my case is analogous to this, I can track this case without thinking about it. And really what I'm trying to understand is what do I got to be prepared for? What do I need to, set expectations for with respect to my client? Do I have to get, an expert lined up right now? How does he handle those expert challenges, et cetera? That's the benefit of doing this at the judge level. And of course, you can always bounce over to the document portion and really begin to understand not just the complaints, right? I know that's what's popping up originally, but if we want to look up limine motions, even know how this will turn out. But if we're looking up wrongful death limine motions, now we're getting the idea of okay, these people have been lined up in front of my same judge, wrongful death cases similar to mine. Let me read these orders, right? Now we have a tool over here to help break that down further. I don't think we're gonna have a ton of time to chat about it, but we do have a tool that'll let you ask questions about these documents. And this is a perfect search for it. 19 documents. I don't have time to read all of these minute orders, but if I want to understand what's going on in them, that's perfect tool. So that way someone's looking at them and I can read the summary of those 19 documents.